All right, hey, it's XO here. The whole idea of this channel is to connect with people, and gather. Let's get back to the ritual. Today, I had to rep the Doctor Strange. We're open up Magic, Strixhaven. So, there's this whole idea that this was supposed to be a Harry Potter collab, and maybe Harry Potter's a little too controversial. J.K. Rowling's always in the news for being some kind of transphobic. And, at the end of the day, I'm going to open this pack and we're not going to worry about Harry Potter. In the meantime, and I'll set these right here, I want to show you how big of a Doctor Strange person I am. There it is. Had to get this. This is like the playmat I use most of the time. I'm just a big Doctor Strange fan. Growing up, I was not a big comic book person. I really, I was a big reader, and comic books, a little bit more about the art. But yeah, something about the dark arts, mystic arts, dark ritual, the darkness that is inherent in some of what happens in Doctor Strange was really interesting to me. I do have a number of favorite comic book villains, and that's more for story arcs and things like that. But at the end of the day, huge Doctor Strange fan. And without doing too much of a XO lore dump, I'm going to say Harry Potter came to me one day. I was in my room. I don't know if I was doodling or writing, journaling. I was very young, and my mom came in, and she had just gone on like a weekend trip. We have family in Michigan, and she dropped a book in my bed. She said, "Hey, pick this up at the airport. Not for me. Maybe you'll like it." And it was the first Harry Potter book. And, you know, my mom's 30 years older than me. It didn't matter how old I was. The book wasn't for her at the time. And I was hooked, and I read every one of those books. I wasn't a midnight release person, but I was definitely hands-on quickly. The beauty of Harry Potter that's not fair today, I'll use Marvel movies as like a kind of similar thing. If you didn't read the Harry Potter book right away, the internet didn't spoil it that quickly, which became untrue by the end of the series, right? Just a really good dialogue on how the internet does ruin things for people, the world in general. But Marvel movies, on the other hand, probably after the first five, you had to see them within a week, or it was going to get spoiled for you just through advertising. So, all right, let's get into the pack. 3 minutes in. Art cards, trash, absolute trash. Grape shot, great card, trash art. Not to say that Mintu Hanenen, maybe I said that wrong, but great artist, great art, trash card. We don't need art cards. No more art cards, 2025. So I just said this about the last pack I opened. Was, oh, okay, well, I just spoiled some things for me. Okay, well, maybe what I was going to say was wrong. So in the last thing that I opened, I talked about how the reprint things, I'm going to have to do this with every set, is like open in the middle and go, okay, common, okay. So sometimes the rare is in the front. This is an interesting moment where it's not the rare that's in the front. This is a sorcery lesson, teachings of the archives, and there's not a backside, but the way that would work is as a mechanic, I think it was called learn or something, and when you saw that, you would have the lessons off to the side and put them into your hand. You get fuzzy on that, but this is a rare, and if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2 cards. Draw 3 cards instead if an opponent has at least 4 or more cards in hand than you. So cool, great, fun to get an extra rare, and I ruined what I know to be the rare in here. Waterfall Aerialist, Flying Ward 2. It's a 3 and a blue for a Djinn Wizard. 3/1. Form and function in perfect unity. I mean, this is, I feel like if this was a 3/2, this would be great. But a 3/1, for having Ward 2, Unless I don't have a flyer, I guess then the ward 2 matters, but if I have a flyer, I just block it and kill it with anything. Spectacle Mage, 1 blue, red. Flying, instant, and sorcery spells you cast with mana value 5 or greater cost 1 less to cast. Yeah, okay. This is okay. Totally okay. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer, and it's got an ability stapled on that. Somewhat relevant. And is it? Pigment Storm, 3 red, red. Sorcery, Pigment Storm deals 5 damage to target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller. Not the worst red damage dealer. Make sure it always deals 5 damage somehow. Pop quiz, 2 and a blue, draw a card, learn. There's the mechanics of learn. I would play this card, and then it would say learn. So I'd pay 2 and a blue. And then I would reveal a lesson card that I own from outside the game and put it into my hand. Or discard a card to draw a card. So if you were playing, there's things like connive and other things that, what do they call that? Discard, rummage. Anyway, you don't need the lesson cards for the learn ability to trigger. You would just discard a card to draw a card. And you may discard a card to draw a card, so you don't have to. Teach by example. Hybrid, is it. So 2 blue, 2 red, or a blue and a red. It's an instant. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn to copy that spell, you may choose new target. This is a great common. That is a great common. This would be an awful rare, totally usable either way, but just a great common card. This is actually, when we talk about power creep, I think this was a sleeper, because if you're in Is It, you've got instants and sorceries out of it, everything. Consider him. Yeah, man. Oh my God, this has a million uses. Okay, Dueling Coach, 3 white, human monk. When Dueling Coach enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It's a 2/2 for 4. And that alone isn't good, because all you're doing is 4 mana, 2/2, and adding a 1/1 counter or something. And then it has 4 and a white and tap it. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So even then, okay, so this comes in, you put a +1/+1 counter on something, and unless even if this is in a deck that does a lot with +1/+1 counters, I don't know, because then it's 5 mana to add a +1/+1 counter to everything you control, and you tap it, so it's not going to be able to block. This should be common. So I should say the rarities for the last 2 cards should have switched. Show of Confidence, 1 and a white. When you cast the spell, copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. So you cast the spell, and then you copy it a bunch of times. So this is a white storm card without saying storm. Cast the spell, copy it for each other instant sorcery spell you've cast this turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Gains vigilance until end of turn. So this has huge synergy with the last card, but at what cost? This would go into, and I'm not good with the 3 color pairings, but this would go into something that is it with white, and I think that's Jeskai. Yeah, but spell caster, thrower, whatever the word is. So here's a rare, Accomplished Alchemist, 3 and a green. This is a great elf card. 3 and a green, you tap it, 1 mana of any color. It's a 2/5, which I like. Unique power, toughness, things like that. Normally you see an elf, and it's a 1/1, a 2/2, or a 3/3, depending on the mana value and the rarity. This is a 2/5, so for 4 mana, it's not a very strong creature, because it's an elf, it's 2, but it's 5. So you're paying 4 mana for something with 5 toughness, and it taps to add a color, a mana of any color. And then it also taps to add X mana of any one color, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So there's great archetypes where this is just a bomb elf, you know, for 4 mana. There's other 4 mana elves that are generically good. If you're in life gain, this is probably fantastic. And then here we go. This is what I spoiled for myself. Natural Order. I'm sure this is a great pull. It's the Mystic Archives, so that treatment, you know, could have been a Demonic Tutor or something fantastic. Natural Order's probably up there. Probably not anywhere near Demonic Tutor, but 2 and 2 green, sorcery, mythic. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a green creature. Search your library for a green creature, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So I could have a Llanowar Elves, or just a 1 mana drop elf, or this 4 mana drop elf, and it's a green creature, and I can sacrifice it, and I can search my library for a Craterhoof Behemoth, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle for 4 mana. Now, granted, the investment of creating the first creature, and could be in the same turn, so for 5 mana, you can drop a 1/1 elf, sack it to this for 4 mana. For 5 mana, you can find your Craterhoof, drop it on the battlefield, and pop off. But yeah, this is a great pull. Great card. And our foil, Leyline Invocations, a sorcery, 5 and a green. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of lands you control. So late game, this is awesome. This is an awesome card. Common, perfectly good as a common, because you have to play this late game. If you pull this early game and you don't have 6 mana, it's not good. And if you pull it early game and you have 6 mana, but you've got an Arcane Signet and a Soul Ring, then this is 3 lands that you probably control, maybe 4, I don't know, but you're going to make a 3/3 creature for 6 mana. It's not great. And Friday Night Magic. It is coincidentally a Friday night right now. Here is a Spirit token, white and red. Yeah, so Natural Order is a great pull. And it's a pack of, it's a set booster, granted, right? Set booster. So you'd kind of expect 2 rares, but I got 3. One is a Lesson, which was not a thing that popped off or became very relevant. This is definitely, I'm going to say this card was worth the price of the pack, and I'm going to say this is it's one of those things where I'm going to say, oh, it's a $20 card. It's probably not $20, but it might be. The treatment is somewhat rare. But yeah, I think Natural Order is close to a $20 card. The rare paid for the pack, and the Lesson might be worth $1. Might be worth 20 cents, I don't know. But just collectively, like, I always like when you open a pack and you feel like you made money on it. And the key here is I sell cards through Card Conduit. Not a sponsor, just a great resource. Yeah, if you aren't selling your excess cards through Card Conduit, you're wasting your time, man. I mean, unless you have a friend group where you say, hey, man, I play blue and you play black, so I'm going to give you all the black cards, you give me all the blue cards you open, and then I'll just have a lot of bulk, and maybe I use them, maybe I don't, you know. Playing for the love of the game, you know, the professor says open single or buy singles. The packs are for draft. I agree with that. But I enjoy this in a gambling way where, like, I open packs to have fun sometimes. It's a good little hit of nostalgia, or, oh man, yeah, if I sell these, I made a few bucks. And then, you know, so this is where at the end of the day I get frustrated, because tokens, I love tokens, and I upgrade tokens when I have cooler art that I find. Like, this is pretty cool Spirit tokens, especially for something that's not the blue spirits, right? So cool. You know, if I needed new Spirit tokens and Strixhaven came out, I have a utility for this. Anything like this, I bring to my local game store. I have 30 years of Magic the Gathering lands. I have way cooler lands than whatever happened in Strixhaven. Tarkir Dragonstorm came out, and, like, There's lands that have a dragon's eye in them that are so cool, and any dragon adjacent decks I have, I'm going to want to upgrade those. So I churn through lands. I give what I don't need to the local game store, and then I go do like a sealed event or a draft event, and I get the lands from them. And I'd say 30% of the time I forget to unsleeve them and put them back. So I just keep giving them my lands because I take some every now and then. And then this is where the art cards, dude, trash. What do I do with these? Like I said, one of these days we're going to open a pack and there's going to be a little gold signature, and I'm going to stop the show and I'm going to Google that. I'm going to, if I'm on the phone, I'm going to go grab my laptop. If I'm on the camera setup, I'm going to have my phone in my hand. We're going to Google that and find out how much that art card is worth. And it's going to be a penny. Maybe, if we're lucky. And sometimes you're going to have one that, you know, some really awesome artist, it's going to be worth something. But I can't get off that soapbox. These are worthless. Wizard of the Coast could do better. I mean, literally, this could be a card that said something about alchemy and the digital client and redeem this for one rare from that set. Anything. And I would value it better. And I don't even play Magic on Arena. I don't play Magic on Magic Online. But if it was redeemable for anything of value in any other form, you know, I mean, do what Coca-Cola does and have the cap be a code, and you put the code in, and after so many codes, you can redeem it for a Magic the Gathering t-shirt, you know, and maybe it takes 5,000 of them to do that, but you would feel this is 1/5,000th of something instead of just 74 out of 81 art card grape shot. And I don't know the artist, even though the art is very cool. And I'm just going to toss it. I'm going to use it to start a bonfire. I don't know. It sucks. It sucks because there's no utility to this. I mean, have it say something about origami on the back and we fold it into... I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, let's end on a better note. This was great. Great pull. Great pull. Good job. Doctor Strange. Very cool. First movie was great. This t-shirt is great. This mat is great. I've had friends and exes and whatever get me little Doctor Strange pins. So my little game store bag that I have like 5 decks in is adorned with all these Doctor Strange amulets and pins. And yeah, Doctor Strange is cool. Strixhaven was a great set. Actually, the pre-cons from Strixhaven, I'm not even talking about power level, but some of the best pre-cons, probably 6 months prior and 6 months after in that year, some of the best pre-cons. They just commanded you to, and Commander commanded you to use the politics of the game and to talk to other players. And it was great set. Honestly, it was probably one of the better sets in all formats for a while. I mean, I'm a few years removed from Strixhaven now. So, you know, and this was like pandemic times. But yeah, the world today, I'm thinking like the Warhammer precons were similar to this. And I think part of the reason, and I'm going to shut up after this, but the reason that precons for something like Strixhaven, precons something for like Warhammer are so great, compared to precons for a Magic the Gathering set, like we had an Ixalan set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, that had some really good precons. But I think the difference is these are not rooted in Magic the Gathering on a base level. Like, in fact, instead of Golgari, it was Witherbloom, right? So they created new houses, new names for the things, and tried to come up with somewhat adjacent things that they would do. And in doing that, it had to recreate a little bit of the stylistic stuff. So Izzet and Prismari are pretty similar, but outside of that, I'd say if you played a certain color type, Strixhaven as a set pulled you in a different direction, maybe. Like, hey, I'll do this instead. And I think that is a big testament to game design, that if you stay in the Magic the Gathering universe and you don't add a new element of what's going on, like Aether Drift is a decent example of some of the mechanics of the set were not loved, but I really loved that those mechanics were unique and different, and they weren't reused ideas from before, like the exhaust ability. It's, hey, you can do this once per game. And then that, you can flicker it, and there's things in the Magic world where you can abuse these. And then there's max speed, so you're building up speed. And it's like, these are other game functions that have never been in Magic Gathering. I'm sure they've been in other games. Same thing with Warhammer. It was really unique that, like, here's 4, we'll call them tribes. Actually, yeah, I don't, maybe that wasn't the best word to use. Magic's gone to kindred, but in the world of Warhammer, 4 groups that, oh man, yeah. When you say something, you immediately feel bad about it. 4 groups of things, Necrons and everything that you look at and you go, okay, like one of the precons is just mono black artifact, and that is not very prevalent in Magic Gathering. Not enough to make a precon. If we said, hey, we're going to Ravnica and one of the precons is going to be mono black artifacts, that's not a thing. So for that to come out, and it was really fun to play with. And in fact, I was a fan of, there's probably 4 or 5 mono black legendary creatures from the Warhammer universe that are cards in that precon, and you could just swap out the commander, and it's almost a whole different game for you. And on top of that, there's 3 other people at the table, so it's really unique in a way that, if I play Golgari and my friend is an Izzet player, and then there's the mono blue guy, and then somebody plays like Azoria Stacks, like, we're gonna have similar games pretty often, no matter what set we play in, no matter who the commander is. But yeah, this is some of the best precon design, and I probably just talked 4 minutes about precons. That wasn't the intention, but yeah. So the intention is to connect people, to connect with people, and to gather. And until we gather again, this is XO. Back to the ritual.